going from a self-serve business to B2B or more towards like an enterprise a sales business, you choosing enterprise loosely for the way that I say that for defining it. But
Sure.
let's talk about that. Talk about the learnings you had and going from that self-serve business to a non-self-serve business as you were
hmm
building at Mixmax.
Yeah. So I think the first thing is that you have to understand that, despite the fact that we were a pretty well established early stage SaaS business humming it away at about 5 million in revenue, you have to look at this switch to a B2B motion as a completely new exercise in product market fit.
Right.
And the reason being is that like the motion of convincing an entire org or at least an entire team to buy an annual license of your product versus signing up for a much kind of lower risk per se at a slightly higher cost and doing it monthly is just a completely different motion. And so I think one of the things that we didn't do well early on was that we tried a bunch of different plays. And what I mean by that is that the product had broad applicability from recruiting to account management to customer success and sales and SDR. And we didn't necessarily like nail our niche until about a couple months in when we started to figure out that like AE teams were like the right team. Oftentimes they were using products that were more designed for SDRs just by nature of inheritance and not having other options. And that these were the folks that were typically signing up on their own. And these are the ones we wanted to go after. And so I use this analogy sometimes when I think about scaling playbooks across different phases of growth. But if you look at like basketball, and I use a lot of basketball analogies, so you have to bear with me. But in the product market fit phase, all you're really looking for is like a mismatch that you can exploit. And so if you've got sort of like one, let's say, player on the court that's taller, faster, stronger, can jump higher, or has like one move that you can kind of repeatably go to get a bucket when you need it, that's what product market fit is. It's not a whole range of plays. It's sort of like one play. And so we figured out what that one play is, and we went there and we started to scale it. And in the back of your mind, you're telling yourself, okay, I know that we're gonna have to broaden this playbook a bit more, but part of this product market fit is kind of repeatedly running that same play again and again and again.
Hey, Robbie, can you give an example from a sales perspective?
Yeah, sure. So I think in the context of Mixmax, that was, the way that our business worked is we would land in accounts through our self-serve model. We would identify the ones where we had traction, and we'd sort of go outbound, so to speak, where we would reach out to the folks using the product and convert those into sort of larger paying accounts. Very similar, I'm sure, to kind of what you guys did with Sales Navigator at LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, exactly. Good. That's a good example. All right, keep going. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, and so basically what we look for there is, okay, like, we're running a range of different plays. We're running plays against recruiting teams where we're seeing similar things, account management teams where we're seeing similar things, and we're seeing the win rates with AE teams just a little bit higher. And we start to figure out why, and it's because, there's a couple things. One, the buyer, who in this case is like the VP of sales or the leader of the sales org, typically has budget and decision-making power, and there isn't necessarily any like approval process beyond them. Right. And so if we can make like a business case and the AEs can kind of go to their boss and say, we need this tool to be successful, it's typically a fast sales cycle, and the win rates are better.
Nice.
And so we just looked at the data there, and we understood, okay, this is a play that we can consistently run. And so we made a conscious effort to focus our efforts on that play. And we dug through our leads and we focused on that play, and we honed our account lists and we focused on that play, and we win with that play. You kind of comb sort of the lowest hanging fruit, and you have to go a level up. And once you've sort of done that a few times, it's time to start thinking about, okay, how can we make this repeatable where you can run an actual play that can give you a predictable win percentage. And that's when you start to go to scale and repeatability.
Yep, cool. And walk us through, while we're on it, walk us through scale and repeatability. What are a few of the things that you're doing as a sales leader or a sales and marketing leader when you're trying to execute on and build scale and repeatability?
Yeah, and I think this is a part of the business, just candidly, that I think Mixmax and a lot of other companies they're making that transition right now,
right.
To scale and repeatability. It's a different timeline for every business. With Zenefits, it was a short 6-month window. With Flexport, it was longer. With Mixmax, it was something in the middle. But basically, scale and repeatability is about like running an actual play. So rather than you just thinking about like a mismatch where we just throw the ball to the tallest guy, he just turns around and dumps it in for 2 points.
Yep.
You're actually running a play where you're involving like multiple different people with the play. And so what you can do here is you can control the outcomes a little bit better. And so let's say we want to like run like a pin down for like a shooter to come out and shoot a 3-pointer, and now we're looking at 3 points instead of 2. Similarly with scale and repeatability, Now what we can do is actually involve multiple people within an organization, sell across multiple departments, and create bigger deal sizes, and in some cases, faster sales cycles. So whatever it is that you're specifically after, if you're a more transactional business, that might be just reducing friction and creating faster sales cycles. For more of a mid-market or enterprise sale, that might be about creating bigger deal values. But with scale and repeatability, you're at a place now where your sales cycle looks a lot more like a full-blown play that you can run with a predictable win percentage. So you know that if you run this play with the right type of account, 20, 25, 30% of the time, you're going to win. And then what that percentage looks like is going to be a certain deal value. And what that allows you to do is build a business model around that and scale it. And there's a lot of work that goes into that, but sort of arriving from just exploiting a mismatch to actually running a play with a predictable win percentage. That's a big jump, and there's a lot of steps it takes to get there. But really, the biggest difference is that predictability and what that win percentage is going to be when you run that play.
Yep, nice, awesome. And then hypergrowth. Let's walk through that, because product market fit, scale and repeatability. You're moving on to hypergrowth. What am I focused on there?
Yeah. And so kind of the third phase and in the journey is, if you come back to this basketball analogy, now we've actually got a play that we can run with a predictable win percentage, right? This pin down screen for a 3-point shot. In a hypergrowth environment, typically now we are selling into multiple different market segments. So maybe it's mid-market and enterprise and SMB, or maybe two of those. And typically we're selling across multiple verticals and multiple geos, right? Yeah. So we're scaling this outfit. We've probably opened up offices outside of, if we're based in the Bay Area, outside of the Bay Area, or maybe a slightly lower cost market. And now we actually have a playbook. And it's like a range of situational plays that we can deploy with a predictable win percentage, depending on what that situation entails. And so to make this jump from running sort of this pin down 3-point screen, which is our scale and repeatability play, we have to hire other highly competent sales leaders to help deploy this playbook, both from experience they have in the past, but also what we're seeing in the market. So by the time you get to hypergrowth, you need a team of people that can actually draw up these repeatable plays and coach and train your organization to run these plays. It can't all come from one person. It just can't. Right. One person can draw up this play that can get you a predictable win percentage and scale and repeatability, but the best leaders are going to deploy like a team of lieutenants that are going to help them build out a full-blown playbook and train their org out. And so when you're at hypergrowth, now you've got a range of plays that you can deploy based on the situation that are still going to give you that predictable win percentage. And it's basically just another stage of growth and scale that allows you to sort of nail whatever the inputs are and have a reasonably predictable outcome.